Okie doke, folks. So today we are going to be covering David Kaye. And this, obviously, like it says here, is the best version that I could find, and it's still not great quality. Cameras obviously were not the priority when things were budgeted for To Catch a Predator, but that's fine. Everything's fine. Let's jump into it.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey, hold on a second, I gotta change my shirt, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so right off the bat, David, he gets to this little entryway here, and he stops short at the kitchen. I think it's for a couple reasons. So, one, I think he was expecting to see the decoy in the kitchen. I don't think he was expecting the decoy to be like up changing his shirt, quote unquote. Also, I don't know the decoy's name, so I'm gonna be just calling her, like, I'm just gonna be saying Dell, because it was just Dell. Um, so I think he was expecting Dell to be there, present, eager, whatever. But also, I think the kitchen is super sparse. And I don't know if that's a rich people thing, because pretty consistently I see rich people having, like, super minimalist, kitchens, that really focus on, like, the countertop and how much space there is for all your stuff. While not rich people, it tends to be more about the food and the experience. And maybe that's just my experience. This is all anecdotal anyway. But back to David here. So he immediately starts glancing around and he darts right. So he checks over here. He sees the kitchen really empty, bare table basically. And he looks over here and we're going to see a cup. And he's going to do this, like, bouncy hip thrust gesture, I guess, when he's talking to Dell. We'll see here.
Okay.
Look at that. Look at that little hip thrust thing. And I think that was, I've been going back and forth and all around on what I think this is. And ultimately, I'm going to land on, I think it's, like, validation to himself. Like, once he's talking to Dell the decoy, I think it's validation to himself that, like, things are okay. Like, despite his nervous system blaring and all the red flags he's seeing, he's got such, like, Coomer brain that he's just ignoring all that shit. Yeah. So, super empty, it's like plates and cups, but not like there's no chairs for all these supposed people to be, it's not right. Something very not right here. Excuse me. But very interesting. David, the first real action he's taken here since entering the kitchen is to move this cup or dish, whatever it is, away from the edge of the table. He feels like it's too precariously placed. That's kind of funny to me.
I gotta ask, you still gonna be up for tonight after seeing your girlfriend?
We'll see.
Anyway, so he leans himself, like he tilts his body a little bit to the right to prop his left ear up some, and towards the left is where Dell's voice is coming from, so that makes sense. But we do that almost instinctually to show that we're listening, and sometimes it helps us listen better because we're, like, focus on where the sound is coming from. I ran out of breath halfway through, and I think it's because I didn't know what my sentence was going to be. Because that part wasn't in my notes. I'm already going off note. I wrote 5 pages of notes, and I'm trying not to just lose it and get on this terrible 30-minute tangent, I'm really trying to be succinct for you folks, and I want you to know I'm struggling. God, okay. Ear thing. Yes. Looking at my notes. Fuck yeah, notes. Okay. So it's interesting that he's doing that without an audience because it is not typically so exaggerated. So he is an older man, and he might need to focus his hearing. He really might need that like extra support. But also because he's a rabbi, he has to basically perform all the time. He's super performative. And so it might be like a social habit that's instinctual at this point, and that he doesn't realize he's doing it. Um, so yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, either way, if it was like a he's doing it to hear better, or it's just like accidentally like performative. I keep saying that word. I need to get a different word for it. A better descriptor, or a different descriptor at least. He also has pretty open body language, except for his hands being tucked away and the pacing that he's going to be doing here. Yeah.
The level of comfort.
It's very, I think the term is caged elephant. A caged elephant sways. Or a chained elephant. I'm sorry, a chained elephant is the term. And so it's this kind of back and forth. I gestured, and I know you guys can't see me, so my gesture is useless, but I'm still gesturing. So it's just that shoulder, that rock back and forth.
The level of comfort we
Just that rock back and forth. And it's a soothing gesture. It's a rhythmic gesture. And it does kind of calm me down. So aside from those two red flags, I think he's not as nervous as I feel he should be. Hi, my dog just finished tearing up the trash that I let her have to tear up, and now she's like, more please, coming over to bother me. Hi, Missy. Anyway, so I kind of want to see if there's any videos of David, preaching. Like I want to see what he's like in his element, and see if his baseline is too terribly different from what he's showing right now compared to about in a second or two when Chris comes out. But I haven't pointed it out, but he leads with his crotch. Watch.
Appreciate your girlfriend?
We'll see.
Dick first, everywhere he goes.
the level of comfort we
And it's like, is that like what he does all the time? Or is this because it's a potentially sexual situation from what he understands? Because if he leads his daily life crotch first, he should have been in prison a long time ago.
So how can I help you? Go ahead, have a seat. I suggest you sit down.
God, that's such a tense moment right there. I was gonna pause it, but it's so tense. So before Chris walked in, I did, the first time I watched this when I was taking my notes, I did check his shoulder height here, and before Chris walks in, they're sloped out and down, but once David sees Chris, his shoulders go up like an inch. Maybe not a full inch, give or take a little bit. It's on my iPad that I was measuring, but that is an instinctual reaction humans have to like sudden jump scares, and it's from way back when we humans had to. I always feel weird saying like when humans, as if I'm not also a human. Anyway, so back when we humans had to worry about big cat attacks, like out in nature, like big cats such as lions, tigers, pumas, panthers, etc. And actually domestic cats also do this, but they attack their prey at the neck joints first. So they grip the neck either to break it and eat right away, or they paralyze the prey to prevent it from running away while they bring the whatever it is back to their little litter or whoever they're feeding. Cats are typically pack creatures, but once they have a litter, once they have some structure going, they typically keep it up.
And take your hands out of your pockets, please.
Anyway, so I did want to mention, like, one day I will get a better editing program so I can mark exactly what I'm seeing and, putting cool clips and shit like that and give you a play-by-play instead of just doing a vague gesture with my mouse.
What?
Okay, actually, after rewinding, I let it go too far. I have notes about the jump. Okay.
So how can I help you? Go ahead, have a seat.
Dark down there.
I suggest you sit down.
So powerful. Okay, so he had his shoulders up. His heart just fucking fell out of his asshole. And then he darted his eyes to the door. That is exit checking. As Chris says, like, go ahead, have a seat. David's head actually, like, moves towards the door. He's in flight, like a fight, flight, freeze, fawn. But he doesn't know if Chris is a cop, so he freezes. Like, he doesn't know what Chris can do. I think if Chris was just a dad, he'd probably, like, book it. But Chris comes off very much more than just a dad. You know, he definitely becomes... Okay, so it's illegal to impersonate an officer, so Chris legally can't imply, say, or, like, hint that he's a cop. But he still, like, puts off the air. And in that situation, it's really easy for the predators themselves to go, oh, that's a cop, shit, I have to just... Self-preservation says to sit my ass down, you know? So he, in this moment, freezes for 7 seconds while his brain is short-circuiting. There's an internal narrative going on, but I don't think it's complex. Like, I think his limbic system is stuttering and taking away his words, to be frank. In that pause, like I said, David turns his head towards the door, and that's like a silent, like, to a threat. Like, I'll vacate the territory if you let me. Like, no fuss about it. But then Chris suggests David take a seat. We all know it wasn't a suggestion. We all know that. It's like the classic Bob line, like, sure was a nice family you got there. Be a shame if someone cut the brake line in the car when they went out shopping, wouldn't it? You know? Like, it's meant to intimidate and enforce compliance in the other party. God damn if it didn't put the fear in David right here, my friend.
And take your hands out of your pockets, please.
Look at that. So I call this, in my head, the clean hands gesture. I don't know if that's the term for it. I'm sure I'm not the first one to call it that. But so to me, it reminds me of being a little kid and having my mother check if I washed my hands correctly. You know, she would see if I scrubbed under my nails and, like, between my my finger webs, the webbing of my fingers, I guess. I don't know what the fuck they're called. And it's like a deliberate, soothing gesture. And it says, like, I'm clean and I'm not a threat and I'm complying, you know, like, super casual, no big deal here, guys. And that's interesting to me, because dogs do pretty much the exact same thing. So when a more dominant dog or a more aggressive dog is getting too rowdy, other dogs will start offering soothing and calming behaviors to encourage that rowdy dog to calm down. It's very much so your dog is hyped when you're hyped, because they're pack animals. They go with the pack. And when things are spiking within the pack, other pack members, and honestly, that's a sidetrack. Don't get sidetracked. Somebody someday ask me about alpha theory. Boy, I will. 20 pages of notes. I have it ready. Anyway, so, like I said, dogs offer, like, deliberate and slow movements that encourage calm, that encourage basically the rowdiness to stop. So, for example, they'll sit and wag just a little tip of their tail and do that goofy little smile. That's a calming gesture. That's a soothing gesture, saying, "Hey, you're a little much right now, aren't you, buddy? Well, why don't we take it down a notch or 10, maybe." And even some dogs take it to an extreme, and they will submissively pee. And what that's saying is like, "Hey, buddy, I get it. You're head bitch in charge. Here is my scent as an offering of loyalty. Don't kill me." And so it's just a So David's clean hands gesture, I guess I'll call it, it shows fear, discomfort, but it also shows that he's jumped right into damage control. So I wouldn't be surprised, I'll say. I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't David's first attempt at, or first rodeo with, like, being caught, so to speak. I think he's maybe soothed some parents before, and that really upsets me. But also, so he keeps one hand on the counter, and the other goes right to protect his groin. He's rightfully and truly deep in panic mode. It's also interesting. He chooses to sit parallel to Chris instead of forward face to face, which if I were seeing this behavior in dogs, that would show me soothing and not antagonistic. That would show me that that other dog is trying to calm down the threat dog, quote unquote threat dog. So this is just, maybe I'm reaching, maybe that last bowl I smoked was one too many, but it doesn't read confident to me. But it reads deliberate. And I hate it.
What are you doing?
Oh, I forgot to say. It could be that he didn't want to pull the stool out further, and so he chose to, like, have his knees crushed to the side. But that seems strange to me, since the first thing he did when he entered the house was move a dish, you know? He seems like a man with a little bit more confidence than what he's displaying. Just because you have to have charisma to lead a are they called congregations when it's Jewish? I don't know. I'm very non-religious. But anyway, so it seems strange that he's, you know, even with being in deep shit like this, he couldn't take the extra half second to adjust the stool. Like, his brain wouldn't, like, that wasn't an option to him. It just seems strange to me because, like have we ever seen any other predators move the stool? Because I'm thinking about it, and I'm not remembering any, but that doesn't really mean anything. So I just have to remember to keep an eye out for it. Like I said, it might just be that his brain is shut off and he's literally not thinking about it. Like, all of his brain power has probably gone towards, like, surviving this situation. But, like, anyway, back to it. I was just saying, like, I've been interrogated before, and I adjusted the chair before I sat down and while I was sitting. So, yeah, anyway, like, maybe that's my autism, demanding I make the uncomfortable comfortable, but if you've been interrogated before, like, let me know. Like, drop a comment. Did you adjust the chair? This is the great chair debate of 2021. Anyway, so we're about to watch his belly here. And if you watch closely, you can see he's doing this, like, short gasp and holding his breath between gasps. And it's actually, like, denying his brain further oxygen.
Not something good.
Oh, right, I forgot for subtitles. So this
Why
one,
don't you tell me what your plan
shot
was?
or so.
I don't want to be. This isn't good.
Not good. That's kind of an understatement, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's doing this, like, he's like big gasp, exhale real deep, and then he does these, like, short things as well. And that's literally just depriving his brain of oxygen. And you can see that his breathing is not coming from his abdomen. It's coming from high in his chest. And the stress he's under has made his abdomen clench, so he can't breathe with his diaphragm to get those good full breaths. I think it's going to keep him spiraling a little bit. But he's focused. He's really focused. He's like, I need to know who you are so I know how to deal with you.
Can I know who you are, please?
I want to know a little bit more about why you were here first.
So a little note that I have here is that David tries quid pro quo. He answered the question, expecting that Chris would then in turn answer his question. And I think it's very funny that Chris was like, one more question.
Let's see some identification.
He can't even speak that he's got such little oxygen in him. Like, his fucking brain is fried. And he did this tiny little hand shield, a little blocker here. Let's
Say some right on vacation.
Now, I don't want to lie to him.
Anyway. So he can't get a fucking sentence out, and he's doing this tiny little hand shield. It's very funny. But Chris, super intimidating in that stance. Like, damn. I kind of wonder, like, do we know if David has truly been in trouble with the law? Oh, he kind of looked like he was gonna puke there. Hold on, wait.
I want to know a little bit.
He looks like he's gonna fucking hurl, dude. I would too. If I were in this situation, which I never fucking would be, because these people are disgusting. Anyway, I'd puke. The second I saw Chris, I'd shit and puke. God. So I wonder if he's ever had any experience being on, like, the wrong side of the law. Because, like, okay, so I'm leaning towards him being inexperienced, and here are my reasons. If you're being interrogated in most states in the U.S., cops legally have to record the interrogation and read you your rights. So everything's got to be set up, and they don't necessarily have to tell you that they're recording, but they do have to read your rights, and you do have to sign paperwork stating that you understand your rights, that you're not under duress, threat, or coercion. And the paperwork and the, not pledge. You, like, swear that you're telling the truth. Like, oath. It's an oath. It's an oath. You take an oath. It's a different oath. It's different. It's Jesus Christ. I didn't write notes for this, as you can fucking tell. Holy shit. Okay. So, when you're a witness, you take an oath on, like, your choice of, like, Bible, whatever, the statutes, anything, to, like, tell the whole truth, all truth, nothing but the truth. And then when you're, and you have to sign paperwork for that as well. But the process is completely different for when you're a suspect. When you're a suspect, you're read your rights. You have to sign paperwork, like I said, knowing or stating that you are, fully aware of your rights. You're not under threat, coercion, blah blah blah. So it's different paperwork, like super blatantly different paperwork. So it confuses me that he thought that like this far into the situation that he should stay. And that fucking holy shit.
Can I know who you are, please?
I want to know a little bit more about why you were here first.
I'd like to know. I'd say some right on vacation.
Now, I don't want to lie to him.
He keeps on it, though. He keeps on his insistence. And it's very interesting. So you can see that David, every once in a while, I'm going to mute it and play it. Every once in a while, when he watches hands, you can see that he has that burst of energy and nerves, and that's called digital flexion, when his hands twitch like that. And his elbows also twitch, but that is not called digital flexion. You can see him just like, not here, obviously, but yeah, so you'll see his elbow kind of twitch, shit like that. And that's because he's got so much anxiety and excess nerves that the body just has to get rid of. And when he first sat down, I forgot to mention it, but I'm pretty sure he had that shoulder to elbow twitch. I'm pretty sure. Oh.
That you with Dateline NBC just yet. Well, I'm happy to tell you who I am, but I also want to go over some of this chat log with you. It appears from this that you were setting up a meeting with a 13-year-old boy. Okay, you're only 13. Yep, 13.
Did you guys see that? There's a twitch here and a twitch in here, and that's a burst of shock.
Only 13. Yep, 13.
Yeah.
For 13.
That's a good burst of shock.
13-year-old, you handle yourself pretty well. Yes, you are very cute, and when boys are that cute, they usually look like their moms.
Okay, so that is blocking. Eye blocking, I think, is the term for it in this situation. But it's just another shield, and it distances, and it creates a little bit easier of a space to keep asking for. Usually, when they turn away, it's a good way to like distance, like I said, kind of remove themselves from the situation and give them the ability to ask or make demands like, I need to see identification, like David does here. But I think in this situation, it's literally like he just can't look Chris in the eye after hearing like he said that.
So you pretty much thought you were coming here to meet a 13-year-old boy named Conrad.
Yeah, the transcript of it. You know.
Can't speak. He can't speak at all. Like he's just panicking so much. And I think so normally when they're whispering like that, I would say it's fading facts. I think it would be and maybe it is, because so fading facts aren't necessarily a signal of deception in the person. Fading facts are, and if you don't know what they are, so it's what he was doing here. You're talking, and then you have to trail off, and you're kind of quieter, and you just stop. Like that. And that shows that you're insecure in what you're saying. And it might, like I said, the pretty much insecure could just mean like, oh man, I don't know if he's gonna buy it, you know. So I guess I could call it that. Again, I almost said I'm not a hobbyist. I am a hobbyist. I'm not an expert in body language. I just know canine body language, and it really transfers a lot. And I think it's because we evolved together. There are so many fantastic books about the evolution of canines and humankind alongside of each other. I'm getting off track again. God damn it. That's not in my notes. So, where am I? Jesus fucking Christ.
Do you have anything to say for yourself? I like sucking and being sucked. I like to kiss. And now I'm getting ready to ask him what he does for a living. I already know, but I want to hear it from him. What do you do for a living?
Rabbi.
He had to brace himself for that. So, before Chris asked that question, his eyes were wide. He was taking in the whole room. But then Chris asked that, and his eyes slammed shut. Because he had to, he literally, winced, had to brace himself to admit to being a rabbi. Because he knows how bad it looks for a rabbi to, be there, of all places. And he knows kind of all the implications that go along with it. I think Chris is going to get into, you mentor children, don't you? Later on, or something like that. Man.
A rabbi. Now, presumably, you counsel families and children in your position as a rabbi.
Rare.
Children.
30 years.
What are you doing as a man of God, as a rabbi, in this house?
Damn, that man of God line hit David hard. He put his palm out to block it, but it got him good. He clearly wants to defend himself here too. But I think he's still in risk assessment mode. He still doesn't know who Chris is.
Trying to meet a 13-year-old boy.
I'm really... I don't want to do anything that's going to further make you angry.
I'm not angry.
You're coming across in a very angry and authoritative sense.
Yeah. Doug, why, David, why don't you tell me, David, why you think this man might be angry at you? Tell me.
I've asked you for identifications to who you are, and you've yet to show it to me. Right now, all that's happened is that I'm sitting in a house.
And you sent...
All that's happened is that I'm sitting in a house. Yeah, I guess. All that's happened in the past couple minutes, sure. Yep. So David is using what he thinks is a soft, non-confrontational voice. He's trying to de-escalate the situation and maintain control. That's super obvious. But he's angry, and I think at this point he's close to losing control of that anger. And it just comes across super condescending. Condescending. It comes across super duper condescending, and so Chris tries. I'm not going to spoil it, actually.
And you sent pornographic pictures through the mail. Okay, that's a federal offense right there.
Look, you know I'm in trouble, and I know I'm in trouble. I am not interested in getting any further in trouble. This is not something that I've done.
You've never done this.
The thing I'm doing right now, is not something that I have done. Not ever. I've never done this.
Before.
Don't even try to fucking lie, you piece of shit. Look at that. Oh god, he's like, I've done this 370,000 times. You fucking piece of shit. That was not in my notes. So Chris tried one more time to get David to talk, I think by provoking him, trying to poke him into defending himself, and getting into like the alibi kind of thing. And I think David not falling for it was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back, Chris's back, so to speak. And I think Chris lets his anger get the best of him, or I guess maybe he could also, he could see that he's not going to get anything else out of David. I almost said out of David. And I think he kind of like wants to knock the smugness out of him, like knock him down a peg or two.
I don't understand why I can't pass some of them.
I'm more than happy to tell you who I am. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
Damn.
Oh, no. Come on,
guy.
You don't want to.
Okay. Do they not look like they're holding hands? Hold on. Like they're serenading? Hold on.
You don't want it.
We got too far.
You don't want it.
Okay, his face is great. Anyway, there was a moment where they looked like they were holding hands and like they were singing to each other, Romeo and Juliet. It was very cute. Anyway, so David's first move, fucking hell, dude. David's first move, is to block the camera with his left hand, and then a few seconds later, like as he processes like who truly, quote unquote, truly fucked him over here, it was you, David. But he blames Chris. So his right hand shoots out to grab Chris.
You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want it. It was really one of the only times.
So it kind of looks like he has like a stress-induced seizure there for a fucking second. Like, holy shit, he was pissed. He super blames Chris. Like, really blames Chris. Damn. So the way he lunged at Chris and how he needed to grip something was very familiar to how some rescued working breeds are when their prey drive is triggered but they don't have an outlet. So they lash out, and by lashing out I mean they're barking, jumping, trying to bite, basically just reacting. And sometimes they can even try to like bite at themselves and chew at themselves if they're upset enough. And the way David almost clawed at his face and then like latched onto the transcript was super reminiscent of that behavior to me. It was very interesting. Let's see if there's anything else, because I think, yeah, they just leave. Oh, right, they do. He does say some great stuff here.
You've got to stop this.
Sit down. Sit down.
You don't have any
You're
right
free to leave anytime.
Look at this little tangent. I have to watch the way he threw down the chat log too. Watch him.
Sit down.
You don't have any
You're
right
free to leave anytime.
You were just, I don't know what about that, but that was, they remind me of a toddler that was like, that's not fair. Oh, man. Alright, so, time for some wrap-up lore. Okay, so David Kaye got 6.5 years in prison, and once he was out, was shunned by his synagogue, so he was not allowed to go there. And I think they spread the word, so he's pretty much been out of it, out of being involved in Judaism, Hebrews. Again, I'm very non-religious. I don't know the word for it, so I do apologize for that. But he's not allowed to be involved in his religion for any synagogues that are aware, as far as I know. He was arrested several more times over the years, and as of recording this, the 20th of June, 2021, he is in prison again. His status as a predator also has, in the judicial filing system, has been upgraded since his To Catch a Predator appearance. He is now a Tier 3 offender, which is the highest risk offender. So I hope he never sees the light of day again. Hell yeah. Okay, so thank you for so much for watching. Thank you for watching. It means a lot to me. I was looking at my YouTube analytics, which I don't really do unless I get comments, and then it just goes to it anyway. And one of my videos is almost at 500 views, and that's insane.